Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. On this episode, I'm raising awareness of bullying. Now, bullying is something that's been going on really since the dawn of time. And it mainly happens, in the schools. I don't know exactly what possesses somebody to bully, but either way, it's wrong. I don't know, because I was I was on the receiving end of bullying all the way from elementary school to the night I graduated from high school. And it stinks. Something really needs to be done about bullying, and a lot of times it's not just students, it's teachers. I was in a situation where I was bullied in elementary, junior high, and high school by teachers as well as students, and in junior high I was also bullied by my junior high principal. There are a lot of educators, a lot of principals, a lot of members of the school boards have said, well, all these students need to grow a pair or grow a spine or whatever. No. There are there are just way too many students that are taking their own lives because they just had it. Because students, I don't care. A lot of students, not every young person is able to. They're not able to just let stuff roll off their backs. They're not able to just ignore, stuff like this. They don't know how, and it's devastating when a child ends up taking their own life because they've been bullied, and the bullying just won't stop. When are we going to? When are all these teachers, all these educators, all these principals? When are they going to step up and put an end to this? It really has to stop. And you know what? There are instances where bullying even takes place, beyond grade school. There's been bullying in college. You hear about all these hazing incidents. That hazing, to me, is that hazing to me is pretty much bullying. And then there are bosses who bully their employees. There are employees that bully their coworkers. Instead of we just need to grow up, folks. This has become too much, and this is a bullying prevention awareness comic hero tee that I'm wearing. As a person who was on the receiving end of bullying, I just want every boy, girl, man, and woman to know that you may be bullied now, but you're surviving. And my only hope is that you won't be bullied anymore. And to all the families of those of children that have taken their own lives because they've been bullied, my thoughts and prayers go out to y'all. I can't even imagine what y'all are going through. And I just hope that you join the fight in putting a stop to bullying. All right, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. All right, last week's episode I asked, which Teen Titan was once a member of the Doom Patrol? Well, the correct answer is Beast Boy. And 10 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, their names have been entered in a drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So, the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is Courtney Emerson from Arlington, Texas. So congratulations, Courtney. You won yourself a free Comic Hero tee. All right, here's the question for next week's episode, and this is a Superman question. In the comics, true or false, in the comics, Perry White's catchphrase is "Great Shades of Elvis." Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tea in next week's episode of the show. So, I gotta ask, any questions?
Questions I walk around in. Questions I didn't thrive in. Questions I will survive in. Questions.
Alright, I only have one question for this week. It is from Kathy Long from Longview, Texas. She asked, what do you think would have happened if Captain America actually lifted Thor's hammer? Well, Kathy, in the movies, Captain America was not able to lift Mjolnir, and I have a theory as to why. Because the only reason that he wasn't worthy of doing that is because of what later took place in Captain America: Civil War, when it was revealed that he knew about what really happened with Iron Man's parents, Howard and Maria Stark. They were killed by the Winter Soldier. In the comics, that didn't happen. And in the comics, Captain America can actually lift Mjolnir because he's worthy, he's pure, he's that all-American boy, that star-spangled man with a plan. So in the comics, yes. In the cinematic universe, no. Alright, that's it for any questions. If you have any questions you want to ask, contact info is down there. If you're watching this from YouTube, comment down below. If you're watching this from any social media site, go ahead and send it by any way you can on those sites. Alright, now D'Angelo Ballou from Warren, Ohio has requested a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and this is yet another comic book character going up against a video game character. And this one is very savage. Representing Marvel, we have Beast. And representing Street Fighter, we have Blanca. These two are going to duke it out in a segment I like to call
The Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today it's Beast versus Blanca. Beast possesses genius-level intellect, animal-like physiology with enhanced physical attributes, and sharp claws and teeth. Blanca possesses agility, berserker strength, claws, electricity control, electronic disruption, electronic interaction, virality, stamina, super hearing, super smell, super strength, and unarmed combat. Who would win? This fight would take brains versus brawn to a whole new level. Blanca would start off by charging himself up with a lethal dose of electricity and attempt to pounce on Beast, but the latter uses his speed and acrobatic abilities to avoid the attack. Beast then goes on offense and delivers a series of claws to the back of Blanca. This angers Blanca and he electrocutes Beast. This only stuns Beast. To an extent, Beast has been playing possum. He can't prepare for the fight. Blanca then tries to end the fight by charging up again and delivering a rolling attack against Beast, but the latter catches him in midair and slaps a canister on him containing a heavy amount of fire extinguisher. This robs Blanca of his electricity powers and allows Beast to score to win with a lethal dropkick. Beast wins, and that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that fight, and if you have fight requests for future episodes, contact info is down there. Alright, folks, it's time for Comically Speaking, so without further ado, let's talk comics! Alright, there's only one thing I'm going to talk about in this segment of Comically Speaking, and that's Wonder Comics. Now, Wonder Comics is this new line of comics coming from DC in January. And the brains behind this is Brian Michael Bendis. When they hired him about a year ago, he pitched this idea to Dan Didio, who's the publisher at DC, and Jim Lee, who's the chief creative officer at DC. I mean, he went on ahead and did this immediately. He wanted to bring a line of comics that celebrates, folks becoming into what they truly are. I mean, and from what Bendis has also said, the the book pretty much celebrates the wonder that goes in comics. And there are 4 books that are premiering for DC, and those books are Young Justice, Naomi, The Wonder Twins, and a very popular one that hasn't been in print for quite a while, Doll H for Hero. I'm really looking forward to Young Justice. Young Justice, you know, I started reading that 20 years ago when it first started coming out. Yeah, Peter David wrote the original series, and with art by Todd Nauck. And to see it back, at first I was kind of wondering how in the world were they going to do that, you know, with Superboy not being not currently being in this DC universe. Now it could work because, you know, with Tim Drake, and then with the Tim Drake Robin, and then Impulse, aka Bart Allen, showing up at the very end of the Flash War miniseries. I mean, storyline for the Flash. This one actually is going to, like I said last week's episode, is actually going to talk about. I mean, it's going to feature Superboy, but it's going to talk about how he comes back to the current DC universe after being in the pre-Flashpoint DC universe ever since he made his debut 25 years ago. Really looking forward to that. They're also Wonder Girl, aka Cassie Sandsmark, is going to be part of this book, and then they're going to end up with a few new characters. One of them is going to be Teen Lantern. Now, whether this Lantern is going to be a Green Lantern or whatever color remains to be seen. Bendis has been very tight-lipped about that. Another book that's coming out is going to be Naomi. Now, Naomi's going to be written by both Brian Michael Bendis and David F. Walker. Now, and it's going to talk about this young woman who becomes a superhero and has a very unimaginable origin. Now, David F. Walker previously wrote a volume of Cyborg, not the one that just ended for DC. That was written by John Semper Jr. This is the one that was written right before Rebirth 2 years ago, and he's done a great job on that. And I can't wait to see what he and Bendis are going to do on this book. Now, Doll H for Hero. Now, this is a fan favorite book. It premiered a long time ago for DC, and it ended. I think. Don't exactly remember when it ended, but if you dial Hero, then it's a book where if a normal human being dials Hero, if they dial HERO, they automatically get superpowers for a day. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, shoot, I'd like to do that, to be honest. And then the last one, Wonder Twins. Now, that's going to be written by Mark Russell. Now, Wonder Twins they made their debut. I mean, they were created for the Super Friends back in 1977. They used them for a year, and then they discontinued them, and then brought them back in 1979. Then Hanna-Barbera brought them back in 1979, used them all the way through 1985, and then did away with them. And then ever since then, they've been pretty much. Even though they weren't comics characters at all, a lot of folks have been making fun of them in some way or some shape, form, or another. They actually were in an episode of Smallville. Well, Zan and Jana were, not Gleek, not so much. But I'm glad. I can't wait to see this. To make their long-awaited debut in the comics books. I mean, I'm very intrigued by it. I mean, growing up, I always thought the Wonder Twins were cool. I mean, I like Jana's powers. I didn't like Zan's powers very much, but I just can't wait to see how that's going to work in the DC books. Now, one thing about this line of comics, Wonder Comics, at first I didn't know whether it was going to be in continuity with the regular DC books or it was going to be non-continuity. I found out it actually is in continuity with the DC books. Now, with Superboy returning, I wonder how that's going to go well with with John Kent, because in a few issues, because at the time that book comes out, there's going to be a story arc in either Superman or Action Comics, or probably both, where he comes back, where Jor-El brings him back, and he's not the same as he was when he went with Jor-El in the Man of Steel miniseries that ended just a few months ago. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really intrigued on how they're if they're going to bring them back, or both of them back permanently. Like, I wonder how if they're going to coexist or if they're going to team up. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that. Is John even going to be Superboy again? Very intrigued. But anyway, Wonder Comics, all the 4 lines of all the books that I named, Young Justice, Doll H for Hero, Wonder Twins, and Naomi are all premiering for DC in January. All right, that's it for Comically Speaking. Now then, let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
All right, first up is Wonder Woman number 57. X-Men Red number 9. Return of Wolverine number 2. What If Flash Thompson Became Spider-Man? Astonishing X-Men number 15. Supergirl number 18. Action Comics number 1004. The Amazing Spider-Man number 8. The Flash number 57. And finally, Titans number 28. All right, that's 10, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 8,986. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. True or false? In the comics, Perry White's catchphrase is "Great Shades of Elvis." Everyone who answers correctly will be in a drawing for a free tee in next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Courtney Emerson from Arlington, Texas, who won a free tee in this week's episode. All right, if my math is correct, I am 14 away from 9,000. Will I get to it next week? I don't know. But I told y'all that I was going to get through the month of October without getting to it, and I was right. Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's coming, folks. And I say that every episode, but it is indeed coming. And I just want to give a shout out to all the young people and even the adults who are being on the receiving end of bullying. Bullying is wrong, and it needs to stop. All these folks that are bullying, y'all need to grow up because you're wrong, and you're wrong. And my thoughts and prayers again go out to all the families who have lost children when their own children have killed themselves because they were bullied, and it just wouldn't stop, because it's very devastating when when for a family to go through that. I mean, I hate it. Like, it just doesn't need to go on. It doesn't need to go on at all. All right, folks, this is the last episode of the show that I'm doing as a 36-year-old man. Got you there, did I? As it stands, today is October 30th. In about 3 days, it will be my birthday. I'll be 37. Really looking forward to this new chapter in my life. Victor at 37. And, there's some folks who really don't care to celebrate birthdays. But look, any day when you are allowed to see another year, that should be something to be very proud of. You should be rejoicing. You should be definitely rejoicing, because not everyone lives to see another year. It's true. I mean, we're not guaranteed today, much less tomorrow. So any day that you wake up to see, any birthday you get to celebrate, make the most out of it. All right, I'm Victor. Oh, by the way, tomorrow's Halloween. Y'all have a happy Halloween. All the kids that are watching, I hope y'all get all the candy you want. Don't eat it all at once. I don't know. I tried it when I was young, and I paid for it later. And just have fun. Be responsible. Don't. If you try to roll somebody's house and you know that they'll shoot you on sight, don't do it. If you want to egg someone's car, don't do that either. That's not very nice. And not only that, that's also another form of bullying. All right, I'm Victor Dudley on the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 236. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.